peaceful, patient, productive, prosperous, and powerful. And I think that field of potentiality and that field of infinite possibility. I'm so pleased that I have found my purpose. My purpose in partnership with that field of potentiality in this playground I call life. So that's been my mantra all week, and I'll talk about why in a few minutes. But how many of you are working the experiments with me? Yeah? Are you on the path? This is so incredible. So much deeper, I think, than E squared. You know, because it's getting now into working with this energy within ourselves and the beliefs that we have carried. We're on, this past week we did experiment number 3, the Simon Cowell corollary. How many of you know who Simon Cowell is? You know, he was the nasty, he was known, he's not really that way. I don't know, I have no idea. I've never met him, but you know, he was kind of the harsh judge for many years on American Idol. And he got a reputation for being very judgmental. And so what is the meme that we were dealing with in experiment number 3? We were looking at what Pam Grout calls World View 1.0, which is the common human meme, another word meaning for belief, is that our job is to judge between right and wrong, black and white, right? Good and bad. She suggests that we put on the mantle of a different worldview, what she calls Worldview 2.0, and the meme, the belief to counter this judgmental approach to the world, of putting things in boxes, is that nothing is absolute, only my thinking makes it so. Amen. Did you get that? Yeah. Nothing is absolute, only my thinking makes it so. I give meaning to what I view in the world. And so I'm the one categorizing whether something's right or whether something's wrong, because I can guarantee you whatever I'm saying is right, just as many other people are saying it's wrong. And what I'm calling wrong, just as many other people are calling right. So this is dealing with polarity thinking, polarity mentality. And Lauren Carlson posted one of the greatest things I ever saw on our Facebook wall on the explanation of polarity versus duality. So if you haven't gone on the Facebook wall and watched what she posted, it was a TED Talk. It was excellent. Okay? Because what Pam is teaching us in this book, and it's not just Pam, masters of all time, no reality, folks, is any truer than any other. We want to think, you know, I got it, my worldview is right on this issue. We were having a discussion last night at Volturno's. We went there for dinner. It was really lovely. I've never been there before. But we were talking about how in our own families, our own social networks, what's it like to have people who are polar opposite of you in their point of view? What does that feel like? How are you in relationship with them? Is it comfortable or is it uncomfortable? There was a time in my life, if anybody disagreed with my point of view, I couldn't be in their presence. That was in my 20s. Okay?
Yep.
I really had to hold on to my worldview, and if anybody disagreed with it, it was unbearable for me to be with them. It was just too challenging. But hopefully over the last 30 years, I've grown up a little bit. Spiritually speaking, I've evolved and I've matured, and I can be in the presence of someone who is completely different than me politically, in their religious viewpoint. It doesn't bother me at all. And believe me, I have family members that we are on completely different sides on many issues. So I will say this, my siding on issues is really mellowing. Because part of spiritual maturity is you realize there is no right or wrong. Amen. There is no this or that, us or them. I know, because, and it doesn't mean that we can't debate and we can't discuss, and, there are people who love that. I mean, they study debate as a profession, as a skill, as an art. But the thing is to look at how invested are you in the outcome of that debate. And one of the things that's really amazing about great debaters is they can debate either side equally, artfully, and skillfully. Did you hear that? Yeah. So you should be able to debate each side eloquently and with as much passion to truly be in the playground of the field of potentiality. Yes. You only can argue your point, then you're probably coming from worldview 1.0. Where they're right, or I'm right, and you're wrong. Making sense?
Yes.
Feeling familiar? So in this experiment, what I loved about it is we were asked to look at an absolute that we believe about ourselves. And there are many. I had a list this long. I shared some of them with you last week. I won't go into them again. But I did finally pick one. So I'd like you to turn to page 114 in your books so we can get some testimonies from each other, see how everybody did. But let me start with my report. I started on Tuesday. I never start on Monday. Monday's my day off. I'm not going to start the experiment on Monday. I could read. I should change it. Well, this experiment number 4, I should start on Monday. But I started on Tuesday, July 14th, and I decided to go with the one. I've always defined myself as a pessimist. They say people either come in pessimistic or they come in optimistic. We have like this tendency from birth. It might even be genetic. So I'm the pessimist with the P, and I really got into P's this week if you didn't notice.
Yeah.
I started out with I'm positive. That was just going to be, and then I went, from positive into, peaceful and patient and productive and prosperous and powerful. So that's where I was, and then I expanded into prayers. I'm so thankful for the field of potentiality and infinite possibilities, and that I'm finding my purpose in partnership with that field of, did you get it? I just playing, because if I'm going to counter the voices that always tell me, like, this is a bad day. Look at what's on the news. Nobody's going to show up for the crew. They never do. That's me. That is really me. And so I have, these are the voices I have. I've had them my whole life. I'm the glass is half empty kind of gal. I know you don't know. Well, because you have put a persona. Do I have a really wonderful preacher persona? Of course I do. And many of you put me on a pedestal. But if you get to know me and not the persona that's preaching on the pedestal, I'm pretty pathetic. No. I can't do that. I'm powerful. I'm prosperous. I'm peaceful. I'm patient. I'm positive. Let's get real. Let's get real. So that was my energy experiment. I had a lot of fun with it. I had a much more enjoyable week. Had lots of great things happen because I was looking from that positive lens. And so I'm going to continue this mantra. And one of the things I'm finding with all these experiments, if you haven't started yet, it's not too late. Because all of them are ongoing, aren't they? Yes. The boogie woogie corollary, the red pill corollary. You can do these continuously, and I am. So let me get, we don't have a lot of time, but I will take a couple testimonies if I can find the mic. It's somewhere.
Oh, right here.
Okay. Anybody want to testify how it went for you with experiment number 3? Do I have someone to testify?
Can I get a witness?
Can I get a witness? I can sing too. That's another one of my beliefs that, I've always been, I can't sing. So we'll just change that. This is digging deep. You're going to be on Facebook. So don't share anything like you're pathetic if you're not ready to. Come on. Testimony. Nobody's trying to switch a belief that they have about themselves. Okay.
Hi, I'm Elisa.
I'm not as smart as my friends and other people. So that was a great one to dive into. There were lots, but I chose that one. And yeah, I found all kinds of things. And I love that she used the word shards, so it doesn't have to be a big thing, just a tiny little thing. Like at work, I had this, I'm a therapist, I had this good insight, and so I used it. Or, I remembered something, remembered someone's name, or just a lot of little things. Yeah. It's very helpful.
Excellent. That's a wonderful one. Wonderful example. I'm sure many share that feeling of not being smart. Anybody else?
Go.
Go.
I have this thought about myself. I don't want to particularly share it, but all week, every day, several times a day, I had feedback of the opposite. So it was really powerful. And it made me say, I want to keep this one because there's many more things on my list that I think about myself that I shouldn't.
Amen, Lois.
There you go. There you go. One of the ones that we may all eventually get to is, I don't care what anybody thinks about me.
Yeah.
And I can say whatever I want.
Right.
Think about that.
I'm there.
What would that feel like to be free? To be you, to be me. We were talking last night about privacy on Facebook. Remember, Jeanette? One of the things is the World Wide Web just is a manifestation and outpicturing of the fact that we're all connected as one, and that we can communicate just like that instantaneously. You know what keeps us from doing it? We need privacy. We want to keep our secrets. There are things that we don't want people to know about us. Well, the realization is, as spiritual beings, as one with one another, having that full capacity of telepathy, it's not until we can release that need to hide and be private and to have secrets. That's what's keeping us blocked from the field of potentiality that I can think a thought and you will know it. Think about it.
Really? Say that again.
Oh, say that again. I will at fellowship, I promise. It's just an idea. Think about it. You and I, our minds are one. They're connected. I should be able to instantaneously know any thought that you think. What blocks that? My shame, my embarrassment, my guilt, my need to hide, my need to be private, my need to keep things secret because I'm separate from you. There's certain things you can't know about me or you wouldn't like me anymore. Think about it. That's not who we are.
But that's because we live in the third dimension. Living in the third dimension.
Yeah, that's because we live in a third dimension. All right?
Yeah.
And we think we're separate. That's what this is all about, folks. So if there's no reality truer than any other reality, we can choose what we think and how we're acting with each other.
I'll be great.
I know, now I'm going over it. One more. After Jill, we're going to go on.
This is fast. So
No, don't be fast.
Mine is what everyone thinks of me. And I have a brother, has a doctorate degree, does exercise, eats right, is like Mr. Perfect American. And he was the only one I didn't tell about what was happening with me because I was so afraid of what he was going to say to me and thought I was a loser that I wouldn't talk to him. And Pat finally said, you have to call, so I called. He didn't answer the phone. I was so happy. And, he called me the other night, and we talked for an hour and a half. And he said that my job right now is to stay on the planet.
They want
And
you
that's
here.
a big job for me right now.
Yeah.
And because everyone wants me here, especially him.
Oh.
It was, a truly
Eye-opener.
eye-opener.
You aren't what you do.
That's right.
Aren't what you do. Wow. Well, that means the next experiment. Experiment number 4, which is I'm loving and I know it.
Yes.
Corollary, or there is no quote-unquote them. This is based on the Worldview 1.0 meme. It's actually countering 1.0 meme, that it's me and you against the world. It's you and me, and she says in parentheses, and maybe not even you. It's me against the world.
Yeah.
So the worldview that she's proposing with this corollary, the meme for Worldview Point 2, is being in love with everyone and everything brings me into alignment with the field of potentiality. Being in love with everyone and everything is what brings me into alignment with the field of potentiality. What's the field of potentiality? We get, it's God. What most people, at least from a Christian, Judeo-Christian background, call God. So in this experiment, the whole premise is I'm going to prove, you and I are going to prove that we actually do love everyone. We just don't remember that. Or we just don't know it yet, as Pam says. So anyone that I'm holding in my heart, or holding out of my heart, I love that we started with heaven is in my heart. Anyone that I have put outside of my heart is just a hologram I have created to showcase a part of myself that I have abandoned. It's a picture. It's looking in the mirror. I always say you have an issue with somebody, look inside your heart about what's out of alignment, because they're just reminding you of yourself. It's the same way if you admire someone, if you look up to someone, if you think they're great, look inside your heart, they're just a reflection of you.
That's right.
You can't see in another person that you don't hold in your heart about you. So if you're seeing a lot of ugliness in the world, you got to get right with yourself. You're not loving yourself. If you're seeing great, wonderful, terrific people, wow, you're resonating at a very high level about yourself and who and what you truly are. So anytime I'm scared or in pain or sick or judging one of those holograms out there, I am not in tune. I am not in tune with the field of infinite potentiality. Because, folks, that field of infinite potentiality loves everyone and everything. Loves everyone and everything equally.
Yeah.
No matter how much we're messing up in the third dimension, no matter how asleep we are, no matter how unconscious we are, no matter what the appearances are, all right? So whenever we see others, those holograms are, what we are seeing is people who are separate from ourselves. Whenever we see that, whenever we see something that's less than perfect, we're moving out of alignment with the field of potentiality. Because God, FP, whatever you want to call it, never sees another like that. So you see how you can't be in alignment with that energy, with that field. If you're seeing someone less than perfect, if you're seeing someone separate from yourself, if you're coming from that point of view of me against the world, or me against you, you're my enemy. What did Jesus teach? Love thine enemies. What does that mean? He said it's easy to love people who love you. Anybody does that.
Amen.
It's called conditional love. I love you as long as you're nice to me, as long as you're loving to me, as long as you agree with me, if we have the same political views, if we have the same religion, I will love you. We come from the same country, the same town. We're the same color. We're the same sexual orientation. I'll love you then. That's easy. Everybody does that. Love thine enemies. Always what we define as enemies. So when we move out of this alignment with the field of infinite potentiality, we clog up the pipes of our own good, is what Pat Prout says. You're only hurting yourself. This is really about, how many of you were at the radical forgiveness ceremony? It's okay, raise your hand. Don't be afraid. Because we all need it. Radical forgiveness is understanding there's nothing to forgive. That's why it's radical. There's nothing to forgive. And she gets into some wonderful examples. You got to read the chapter. Well, what about the person who sexually abuses the kid? I know someone's going to be really mad at me because I just said that way. But that's a really bad one, BJ. Or the guy who went and killed the four Marines this week. I'm sure we could throw out lots. They're unlovable. They're outside this. We're not talking about them. Everything we see out there is produced by the projections in our own minds. It's appealing to believe someone is awful, is really out there, they're awful, but the reality is that person lives in your consciousness, or you wouldn't be seeing them. This is really deep stuff. That's why I said E squared gets a lot deeper than E cubed. This is the stuff that gets us all in a frenzy. But, and you want to go back to us, me against the world. Us versus them. There's bad people and there's good people. I'm with the good people, and here's the bad people. Get with it, BJ. Get into polarity. Come on, let's go. You're living in the fourth dimension, in the third dimension world. We don't want you here. Get out. You willing to try this? To love everyone and everything. Time to tear down the walls. It's a time to tear down the walls of separation. And how do we do that? We do that by getting in alignment with what we call the field of potentiality. We get in alignment with that unconditional, that love. Unfortunately, most of us are spending much of our lives out of alignment. Our reasoning goes like this. This is Pam's words. Be nice to me, then I'll think about loving you. Quit putting down my political party and or religion, and then we can talk. Behave the way I want you to behave, and then I can love you and accept you. Anything resonating? But that's not how it works. That's not how you align with the field of potentiality. You align with the field of potentiality by loving everyone, by seeing the face of God in everything and everyone. By feeling happy, by being joyful no matter what. So conditions, that goes right back to corollary number one, the boogie woogie, right? Yeah. My happiness does not depend on external events. My joy doesn't depend on how you treat me. Instead of letting the apparent reality dictate my feelings, I line up with the field of potentiality, which knows nothing but love, peace, and perfect contentment. Do the masters get rattled by the unrest of this world? Do they?
No.
Why do we flock to people like the hugging saint? Why did people flock to Jesus? Why do people want to be in that presence? Because that is who we really are. We just either have forgotten or we don't know it yet. Folks, the field of potentiality is nothing but pure love. And when I'm busy documenting and discussing what appears to be, I am not fully lined up. And I love this part of this chapter. She says, I love this, I've never heard this before. She said, in fact, alignment and enlightenment are synonyms. Don't you love that? You know, enlightenment is such a big word in spiritual circles. Well, what does it mean? Get in alignment with the field of potentiality to be enlightened. You're not going to be enlightened. You're going to remain in the dark when you're out of alignment with God. So the best way to line up is to love every hologram out there. Every individual that's in your face, every situation you see on the news where you're like, get the guy. I want him arrested and I want him to rot in prison for the rest of his life. Because he deserves it. Crucify. Execute. Kill him. He's not me. And he's a threat to me. Come on. Get real. All right. So let's turn to method on page 126. Nobody's going to come back to church. Why did you go there? No one's coming back. You know, Jesus was like this too. He used to make his disciples really, really mad. So I can take it. Let's go to one. Not that I'm anything like Jesus, but 126, the method. Let's look at what we're doing this week. In the practice of tolerance, one's enemies is the best teacher. That's from the Dalai Lama. If you thought Match.com or eHarmony was good at hookups, wait until you try this. This experiment, which can be performed without an annoying monthly membership fee, is designed to prove two things. Love isn't something you have to find, it's who you are. And when you're in love with everything, you're aligned with Source, which makes all your intentions come flowing in. Here's what I'd like you to do. Should I have Hesher? Be a love bomber. You're all getting these. Get a pad of sticky notes. They come in all sorts of brilliant colors. And write love notes to the world. Stick them up everywhere. Tuck them into books at the library. Leave them on the backs of dollar bills. Tag posters on the subway. I expect to see some, you know, on my briefcase and a few other places before you guys leave. If we don't have enough, hopefully we have enough. We can even tear some of them in half, but I think we have enough. Number 2, appreciate the world's most annoying person. Which might be me right now. I once heard spiritual author Wayne Dyer say there's a photo of Rush Limbaugh, the conservative talk show host. And by the way, one of my brother's heroes, there's no right or wrong. Who annoys you inspires someone else.